Good morning, and welcome back. I am your host, Amelie Starchild, and I'll be with you for this next hour and a half, 2 hour, will be a stream of consciousness meditation. We're going to just riff in a safe space, non-resistant thought. Who am I? Who am I? We're just riffing, we're just spitballing, we're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I actually do have an agenda. My agenda is that it's kind of like my thesis too. I believe that all the problems of mankind are being caused by us not knowing who we are. And that upon knowing who we are, life is going to get a lot better for us. Life is going to get a lot better for us. We're going to be able to get away from fossil fuels, war, hit that peace on earth that we've been looking for centuries. The question is, who am I? Where did I come from? Actually, I'm having a little bit of an issue right at the moment because I realize for the first time somebody has found my little recording. And see, the funny thing is that I left it up to the algorithm of the universe. I purposefully did not do anything slick. And as a matter of fact, for the longest time, I put a playlist in the description of the video because I didn't actually want anybody to find it yet. I didn't want anybody to find it until I was better at saying what it was I was trying to say. Which is, I think that I can see, first of all, I think I can see this connection between the shape of the universe as Nassim Haramein has put it out and done the mathematics, and what all the spiritual masters talk about the law of attraction and how that works. All the frequencies, all of the fact that we live in a holographic universe, and how that holographic nature works, all the individual points uploading to the whole and the whole downloading to all of that stuff. Now, I did mention I was having an issue. It's because I had 159 views on something from day before yesterday. And I want you to know that before this, I have never had more than 22 views, 23, something like that was the most. And most of that, I can almost explain that from family, Not quite. Family and friends, if they all watched it, I don't know what you have to do to make it click twice from your end. So if I'm watching it, maybe you just have to change devices. Or maybe you have to change the account from which you're watching it. Can the same account watch it over and over and over and over and over, have it in a running loop, and give it that many? Probably not. So I don't know. Anyway, 159 views, so I'm feeling a little self-conscious. But you know what? The whole exercise is in me. My two me's getting it together here, and my little me sort of getting out of the way so that the big me can talk, although she uses my words. Who am I? Who am I? What is my design? What is my biotechnology? How does it work? How does the law of attraction work? In reference to this, I'm talking about source energy. What is source energy? And how can we use this information to tap into our better selves, organize with one another more effectively? By the way, all you who watched it on the 8th, go back and watch it on the 9th. The one I posted on the 9th too, because I actually thought that the one I did yesterday was slightly better than the one I did day before yesterday. Although recently, so anyway. Hold on a minute. So what is it we do here at Who Am I? We have a little space for a space of time. We are in this unconditional space where we're pushing back against nothing. We push back against nothing. When you push back against things, they get hot and multiply. So resistance is futile. That's what the meaning of that is. You know, when the Daleks come up in front of you and go, resistance is futile. What they really mean is resistance itself is futile because it creates the polarity, which is actually the problem. So your neighbor is not your enemy. He is your unknown self made visible. We are all in this together. That we are a field phenomenon. And so what do I want to cover on the show? I have a whole circle of information. And it all depends, and I riff through it. It all depends on what I'm feeling that day and how good I got at just detaching from my specific self who knows, who is a little self-conscious, perhaps. I've been talking to myself for the last year, and so it's been easier for me to detach. But the idea is that there is value everywhere. And so we're not really pushing back against anything. Even the things that we don't like have elements within them that we do like. And the whole idea of the whole thing is to understand your equipment well enough to know that what the object of what you're supposed to be doing here is selecting out of the field around you the aspects and qualities of things that you like. And yet somehow, as human beings, we're taught from the beginning to focus on the materiality, and especially give all the attention to the crap that we don't like. You know, the news, I'm air quoting news, turns out to be all the murders of the day, you know, and all of the catastrophes, the disasters, the heartaches, the heartbreaks. And at the end of the show, you might have one little 30-second blip about, you know, somebody rescuing a kitten from a, you know, we need to shift our focus because we need to understand how the focus mechanism works. That you're either we're going to abstract everything out of it. All of the personal comes out of this. And during the course of the Who Am I show, we're just talking about that which we have in common, that which we don't have any problem with. Although we're going to mention the things we don't have a problem with, we're not going to push back against anything. So like, for instance, I look at the institution of the military from this position, and I realize that on the one hand, you are looking at the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower predicted and warned against in flagrante in front of us, and it's awful. And you go, oh my God, that's not right, because it's not possible. There is no justification ever for that kind of might to be thrown against any other kind of anything, and it's only because there's this sort of mutual contest that we got going on between it. The whole thing has happened because we don't know who we are. We don't understand the meaning of our negative emotions, which if we did understand, we would understand that yes, there are conditions on the ground that you don't like, and it's fair, you don't have to like them. As a matter of fact, the very choosing of what you like is the essence of our being. It's the essence of our life mission, to choose. We are choosers. So Abraham has this thing where she has an analogy of, you know, don't get into you're trying to get into the engine of your car and work the pistons and the the pulleys and the belts and you're trying to run the engine of the thing yourself. Stop it. You are a chooser. Sit behind the driver's wheel and look forward. Don't stare at the exact specific physicality that you've got around you. And she likens that to putting the windshield of your car into the floorboard. And you're just staring at the road. That's where you are. You're just staring right there. Or what's the other one? Driving through the dark, and all you can see is a few feet in front of you, and you have to keep it in your mind. Anyway, from all of that stuff, very valid, very valid. It's all about your focus. It's all about your attention. It is the currency, the literal currency of the universe. And so, let's see. I may have new listeners on this show today. The pressure. I just have to leave myself behind. Stay with my pure positive self. Don't be frightened. Don't be nervous. It's okay. It's okay. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I as a human being? Who am I as a powerful creator? I am a powerful creator. We all are. And we actually... There's only one of us here, people. It's the stone cold truth, and it's the only way we're going to get to the 22nd century, is for us to understand this fact. And so all wars are a kind of autoimmune disorder that has popped up, and I think that the reason is we don't know who we are. We have created this lack across the planet, when in actual fact, we are agents of abundance, and our place is to re-garden Eden. What's the point of looking backwards and, putting our minds in old tomes and arguing about, what that story was about in the Bible, the Eden and Adam and Eve and all that. The fact is that the whole point, perhaps we have been put on this earth to re-garden Eden. I don't know. We could tell the story that way. I don't know. I do know one thing. I believe that we were genetically modified. And I kind of got this piece of information from Greg Braden. He talks about it, but he doesn't actually obliquely use the word. He is more oblique. He's not as overt as I am. I am blunt when I speak of these things. So I'll show you his slide. I do have slides that I go through. This is his slide that I have captured. It's in my OBS studio as a scene capture. I only have a limited number of things. I'm not slick, and I don't care. I just wanted to get good at this. And maybe I'll get better. I do this every day. So this is a slide I got from Greg Braden, and if you'll notice, this is from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, volume 88, pages, It was published in October of 1991. There is this article over there published by some geneticists back in 1991, and here it is. I found it. I used his information. It's over at pnas.org. Those page numbers weren't as easy to find as you'd think they were, because they're sort of hidden within every article. So I suppose you could keep opening articles to see how you're getting close. I just went ahead and read all the titles of the articles until I found this one, and I'm like, oh, there it is. It was the 40th article in, if you want to go find that yourself. And I here's the full abstract. Look at what it says. This is human chromosome number 2. First of all, before I show you the abstract, look at this. So this is here's the diagram of the neocortex. And the neocortex you can think of is the overview human mind. It's what makes us human. It makes us be able to see beyond the knee-jerk reaction we have to something in the immediate field. That's your negative emotions, is a knee-jerk reaction to something going on, or something that you witnessed, something you were exposed to, something that you let in. I don't know how you want to put that. Your neocortex gives you that layer of mind that puts you outside of that. And 76% of the volume of this comes from human chromosome number 2. And human chromosome number 2 happens to be 2 other lesser chromosomes fused together telomere to telomere. And telomere material, if you know what telomere material is, it's almost by definition, it's outside material. It does not belong on the inside of no chromosome. So what they concluded after they did the sequencing of this thing is they concluded that this chromosome, look, we conclude that what we've been talking about and studying, basically they're saying that the human chromosome number 2, we conclude that it's the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Well, I think that's very startling. I think it's very startling indeed. And one of the things that I think that reinforces that idea is that you are 2 beings, and both of these beings have a mind. And both of these minds, you could say, are vibrational. But first of all, what are your 2 aspects? Your physical aspect and your vibrational aspect. Although technically, your physical aspect is also vibrational because everything's vibrational. It's just a denser vibration there. So you are these 2 beings, and both of these beings have a mind. And one is your smaller self, your specific self, the one you're in charge of, that particular lighting up, if you will, your particular area of the grid. And you're sending your information back up to the whole, and the whole is sending its information back down to you, and you're sending your little information back up to the whole, and everybody's doing this. And oh my gosh. Who am I? Who am I? Anyway, I think that the fact that we were given the neocortex, the overview mind, which is actually like the analogous mind to your physical mind is to your inner being as your no, that's the opposite. The analogy is the neocortex is the overview mind. And so the lower minds, the mammalian brain, you could say, that's where the birth of your negative emotions come in the birth of the mammalian brain. Let's go back to that for a second, actually, because this is part of the presentation. Absolutely. Right here. So it's just so giddy. It's just so giddy. Somebody might be listening. You know, I've had one listener out there almost every day. She, who I don't know who that one was, would miss a time or two. There's a few back there that have 0 watches. What you'll see on my website, there's if you look at just the list of videos, just go to the videos and see the long string of them. There's 100 and I don't know how many, 30 something. I don't know how. Maybe there's that many forward facing. They read like a chronicle of where I started this project, the Who Am I project of my own, you know, because I'm trying to figure out who I am. I'm not saying this from a lofty, I'm not saying this discussion from a lofty pedestal. We are all in this together. And that's where I'm trying to say it from a place of non-resistance, from a place of, you know, the actual glorious way we're supposed to link up. We create this incredibly beautiful lattice shape. When we all link up and then we all know what we all know, and no, none of it's proprietary. Although, you know, it is proprietary in a way. There's a bit of it. It's like, I figured it out. So everybody just needs to be their wholeness from where they are. So let's go back to this diagram. The neocortex mind is to the mammalian brain as your overview mind is to your neocortex mind. You could say that, I guess. An overview mind. It's the one that can see beyond just a knee-jerk reaction to, I don't like that. Oh, I see the bigger picture of what is transpiring in front of me. sort of thing. That's what the difference is. So I have this, if you're new to the show, and most of you are, I have this, and actually if you watched Day Before Yesterday's show, you didn't see any of my slides, because I don't think I changed the slides. This one is the one that I use to illustrate the two minds. The one on the left is your source mind, and the one on the right is your specific mind, and they are both looking at the physical world around you. Your source mind has got a great deal more in its awareness frame than you do, just by definition, you know. But your source mind is the one that is in touch with all things, the one that knows things. And the way that it knows things is through this cosmic jiggle of space-time. Now, how does that work? Which one am I going to talk about today? Oh my gosh. I can talk about it all. In 2 hours, I can cover the whole thing. The fact that I think that we're genetically modified. The fact that the mathematics has been done that explains the relationship between the quantum world and the cosmological world, which basically means that reality has been explained. The source of all things, the shape of the universe has been explained. But it's a bit much to put your head around. So that's all of Nassim's work, and he understands it fully, but he's not glib in his ability to describe it. But he's passionate, he's wonderful, and he's got all the math done. And that is what is so important, because the math is the roadmap to the technology of the future. The math is the roadmap to the technology of the future. So if you are new to the show, go back to one of my old shows and find one that has my playlist. And the playlist looks like this. I'll show it to you. I think I might have even shown this a couple of days ago. I don't know. My links list. This is my playlist. Let's go through it real quick. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. That is a documentary movie that talks about a century of them lying to us about what is possible about energy. Basically, our own government and everybody else's government too, because the governments that look like they are running the world are not really where all of the levers of power are. You got to know that. It's more like I don't know what you call a collection of multinational corporations crouching across the planet, you know. And you could see it that way, and you could get all dark and sinister, but you know what? There's value everywhere. And at the very least, there's value in us recognizing the structure of what we do, the structure of who we are, how our politics always plays out, how the power, the vibrational lines of power, and, you know, we may call it aristocracy one century and then abolish that. And yet, vibrationally, it always tries to shake out kind of the same way. There's certain patterns that keep trying to play out. And, you know, the laws of the United States, it'll be interesting to see how the structure of the United States holds up to that same energy trying to play out again. It's like roadblocks and little places that you put up to try to hold the tide back. But frankly, the only reason all of that stuff is there is because we need to know who we are. Because as soon as we know who we are, we're going to realize how to do this. It's not going to be hard. It's going to be easy. That's the whole idea. We're making it so hard. There is this loving organizational force that is trying to organize us at all times. And it's where law of attraction and this new unified view of physics and the spin within the spin within the spin and how it all comes together. Let me get off the links list, because I like my scenes better than I like my my slides. So we have the lost century and how to reclaim it. This is talking about over unity devices. It also alludes to the ultimate holy grail of being able to plug directly into source energy. Don't believe them when they tell you that the holy grail is clean fusion. The reason that's the holy grail for them is because that continues a paradigm of top-down, centralized energy and power, and an elite structure between the first world and the third world, and all those kinds of structures. We don't need any of those structures. And as a matter of fact, the third world is going to end up being better off because they have less crap that they've got to go in. They don't have to go back and clean up the parking lot. They've already got paradise. You know, we're going to have to take the parking lot and re-garden Eden. I promise you that's what we're doing. So the next thing I've got is the origin of mass and nature of gravity. This is the YouTube video that describes the paper that Nassim and a team of researchers published back in September. That paper is this one. This paper right here, Origin of Mass. Oops, that's the full abstract. This is the one. The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. This one is the one that is explaining how mass comes across the zero-point energy field of... No. How do I say this? Comes across the event horizon of the zero-point energy field, and as it comes into organization, as these plonks organize into spin, as they organize into mass, they are spinning. It is spinning. Space-time is spinning, and all of matter is spinning, and we are spinning, and source energy is spin. Let me go back to the links list now. There's so many things to talk about. When you come into this place of non-resistance, resistance, you find that there is everything to talk about. And it's all so cool. The universe is so cool. We are so cool. We are blessed to be in the bodies that we are in. Someone gave them to us. I believe we're genetically modified. That would have been done 200,000 years ago or thereabouts when anatomically modern humans appeared on the face of the earth. Somebody gave... I also have heard, and it's a kind of a reliable source. I can't remember what it was, but at the time I thought, this is reliable. Did I hear it from Bashar? I'm not... I don't think that's... I don't know. But the rumor was that it's against the prime directive to do that kind of thing, that it would have been against their own rules to have genetically modified us. Now, I don't know whether they call it laws or whether they call it rules, but I bet it's rules, because I believe that the ticket to intergalactic travel and connection is an understanding of the nature of reality. You have to understand the connected, matrixed in nature of reality in order to get the ticket to travel the stars. So it's probably just a rule, not a law. I doubt if they have... You can't... How are you going to enforce laws in the universe? You can't do it. You can't do it. The universe itself is enforcing the laws by its very nature. And I'll tell you what the nature is. The nature is, it's all about peace and love. And when you realize that all the power is there in those frequencies, then you realize that there's not a problem. Oh my goodness, there's not a problem. Because, duh. This is what Jesus was saying. It was the whole meaning of his life. And yet people dissect it in so many other ways. Like, It's all about who you are. Who am I? Who am I? So let's see. Let's go down the links list. Quantum Revolution. That is the 12-part series over on Gaia, done by Nassim Haramein. I'm not sure when that came out. It's been a number of years. All about the nature of reality as per this new mathematics, this relationship that he has realized within himself and described with the language of mathematics, which is the roadmap to the technology of the 21st, the true 21st century. I think we're a little behind. On the other hand, things are always working out the way they're supposed to be working out. For the big us as well as for the little us, things are always working out for me. It's very possible that had we handed over free, clean energy to an almost unlimited degree to human beings 100 years ago, they would have used it in the Second World War to obliterate each other. Hitler might have won the war. Or he was so determined, and there were more of them that were determined to take it even farther had they had the means to do it. Unlimited, clean, free energy is a big deal. And we're going to have to be responsible beings as we wield this. But let's imagine this, folks, how cool this is going to be. You hand free, clean energy to everyone in Fiji, for instance. Now they don't have to sell their souls to begin with to get the energy to start any projects they want to do. They got the energy. They maybe have something to start with, and they certainly have their own natural resources to go with. Now what are you going to do with it? Maybe use that energy to recycle every icky looking thing in the landscape and create beauty beyond imagining. Co-create with the natural environment. You have communications across wireless lines, because when you understand this universe, you know that you don't have to communicate across wires. We've already figured that one out. Let me keep going, and so I can get off the links list page. We have The Connected Universe. That was a movie made back in 2016 with Patrick Stewart, and he's the one who narrates. It's wonderful. That's go back to an earlier one of my episodes, and in the description you'll find the links list. And I think it's active. I think if you go into there, you can click on that. At the very least, you can copy and paste it into a browser. And so it is my links list. What do we have? Living in the Future's Past. I throw that one in. It is a movie. These are all on YouTube. And I know you can do stuff on YouTube because I'm on YouTube. This connects us to the idea of we are made of oil and we are a superorganism. Like it or not, we are one being. We are one being, we are one being. I know we are also individual beings, duh. And very profoundly so, by the way. That idea I call divine autonomy. Your ability to, if you will get into the center of your own equipment and emanate your position from an aligned positive state, you will build a momentum sufficient to withstand storms of equal momentum on the negative side. Now, a bigger storm from the negative side could possibly knock you down a bit. But that is an idea I have never orally explored, and probably today's not the day to do it. But you don't focus on the idea is get into the center of your center, line up with your own interbeing, and hold on tight. And as your momentum starts building, you get more and more powerful. Powerful as in influential, powerful as in stable in your own emotional state, so that the winds of negative emotion do not knock you down as easily. That's all I mean by the being able to withstand storms of equal momentum, you know? If you get really, really, really strong in your positive momentum, it would take a lot to really, really, really get you down. And if you get all the way to connected to the light of the whole universe, theoretically, nothing would get you down. Although, I don't know. Ultimately, I'm hoping nothing gets me down, but I am attached to this meat vehicle, this being that I specifically am. My point on the physical grid, I am a bit attached to her. And when she dies, she will not be back. I go on, but she will not be back, and I have come to love her. She's so sweet the way she tries. She comes into the studio every morning, and it's mostly because she didn't know what to do with her life. She's a boomer. I'm a boomer. I don't know who's talking to you. It's both of us, really. I am both of these beings. Anyway, let's finish the links list, the paper, and then I threw in at the bottom, I don't say what it's a link to, but it's a whole bunch of papers over at ResearchGate. Just go over to researchgate.net and search for Nassim Haramein, his name in there, and he'll take you right to there. This is our future, people. This is the egalitarian future that we're all looking for as we recognize our place in this mighty, almighty abundance creating machine that we got going on here. That we are all integrally a part of. That we are all blessedly a part of. And when we learn to operate our equipment properly, get ourselves facing forward, and when you find yourself facing backwards, there's nothing gone wrong whatsoever. Bless your equipment, get yourself turned back the right direction, and move forward again. You are a positive being. You are actually not a negative being. And whenever you spin thought out of your negative self, you create this energy field that we all have to deal with because we are a field phenomenon. You create Shiva energy, you create Loki energy, you create demonic energy. You can see this illustrated. So I watched this show on Netflix. It's called The Antisocial Network. And it's all about the conception and history of the group Anonymous. And what that was, what kind of a internet program that was, and what it spawned, and how it connected to political movements on the ground, and how it connects to it even today, and how it all connects to truth, even the truth about what it was. Well, this is what was this is where that was. These are the guys that came up with that, and this is what they were thinking about as it happened. This is what played out in the world, and this is what we've got going on now. It's a really interesting show. At some points, you can see within these fairly unconscious young men, you can see an interplay of both positive. You know, there was times when the anonymous thing was actually seemed to be a force for positive social change. You know, you could feel its power in the positive social change. And then later, it became more of just what I would call Loki energy. And I specifically came up with the word Loki when I watched this young man, you know, and the look in his eye and his attitude as he was saying, you know, that what they wanted to do was they were so fed up with the whole system. They wanted to burn it all to the ground, and they didn't care anymore. That's Loki energy. That is the energy of beings who have fallen through the cracks, whose needs are not being met, and in their anger and in their fear, they spin out thought. And it's, you know, it's not true. it's not coming from where we are. And I'm not judging people in their negativity. I want to just advise them, hey, understand what your negative emotions are. They're not wrong. They are right. It's just you've got yourself turned backwards. And if you want to have any effect on that, the target is always the physical universe. You just got to know that the vibration is the primary aspect. The manifestation is a secondary effect. It's not the primary effect. The primary effect is the vibration, because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And so, far from being illogical, our emotions should be our primary sense. Primary sense about, first of all, the validity of our thoughts. That's what it should be a primary sense of, not, what is real or not real about going on in the universe. What your emotions are a gauge of is the validity of your thoughts, or whether or not you've got a smidgen, perhaps, of a poison vibration within your thoughts, that if you take it out, through momentum, through the law of attraction, building the momentum of whatever it is you got going, if you take it out, it may end up, being the negative part of it might end up being quite large by the end of it. Even if initially the greater part of the intention was beneficent or beneficial. I speak of, say, for instance, our medical systems are a good example of that. Because certainly the whole medical profession is built upon a desire to see people get well. They see illness and they want to help people get wellness. But there are other seeds mixed in there, in the institutions, that have, now that the momentum has played out through the 100 years or whatever, you can see the flaws in it. It can't be done for a cash motive. All these things, they can't be done for the motive of making money. That's what the problem is. The way we've got it baked into the cake is that you have to capitalize. Everyone has to capitalize. Now, I could push against that system. It is what it is. It's going to be a lot easier once we are all supplied with an understanding of who we are and clean, free energy wherever we are, as well as the civilization being free from gravity, so that we can re-garden the planet beneath our feet, so that we can quit making it a full-time occupation to knock down trees and slather concrete and asphalt everywhere in order for us to be able to visit anything. It's like your beautiful garden space. If you didn't leave, you have to leave yourself. Actually, that's not a good analogy. I was just thinking, if you had to tromp through the beautiful flowers all the time to get in, to be able to look at your garden, it would be a lot more destructive than if you could just fly over them and then leave it intact. The planet's going to be so much more green, so much more abundant, so much more beautiful. I think that actually one of the biggest industries of the future is going to be us visiting one another. And so off in the fields, we're going to have places where, where it's best to grow certain crops. The people who live in those places will grow those crops, and they'll sell it on a larger market. And then there's a smaller market of things that are grown specifically in the local area, and that produces a few jobs. And then there's the people who run the Airbnbs, and the people who run the eateries and the little souvenir shops and the things that support the tourist industry. There's this show on, I think we're watching it on Amazon these days. It's called Still Standing. And this man, Johnny Harris, who, if you're a fan of Murdoch Mysteries, he's Crabtree. He has made himself a new career. He's 8 seasons into it, and there's like 10 episodes a season, so he's done a lot of towns. What is that? That's 80 towns he has gone to. Canada's struggling small towns. Many of them had significant industries at one point, fisheries or paper mills or, whatever kind of things. And for some reason, those larger industries have fallen into they've gone away or become way less. Yesterday it was an orchard place, a place that used to grow apples and things for a greater market. But what with the price of apples not being high enough and the price of producing apples being way too high, growing apples is no longer feasible. Well, isn't it interesting? One of the reasons why the cost of raising apples is too high is because we still use fossil fuels. And we shouldn't be using fossil fuels, and we don't need to be using fossil fuels. Over-unity devices are possible. They have been squirreled away from us for over 100 years in the name of national security. And in the spirit of not pushing back against anything, and in the spirit of there being no actual villain or enemy, and in the spirit of things are always working out for me, so everything's happening for a reason, and I don't need to get my panties in a wad about anything. And if I did, I'd be facing backwards, and so I gotta quit acting then until I get back to my positive self and see it in a positive way and translate the meaning of this so-called negative thing in some kind of positive way in order for me to find the positive way out of it. It's like a puzzle. It's like a mathematical puzzle. You apply the formula and then you achieve the result. That's how this works. I believe that we will be able to harness all of this free, clean energy from a point of we don't have to push back against the people who have plotted to keep it from us. All we have to do is just, if somebody figures it out, again, open source it, people. Don't squirrel it away like my golem's precious. My precious. I will tell no one. It will be the source of my empire. Or whatever. And then they take it to the patent office, and the patent office snatches it away, and the person is told that he must never tell anyone, and he either cooperates or, whatever, terrible things, all the way to wet works. Watch the movie. I believe it. I actually do believe it. And one needn't really go to a sinister place even to believe it. Because honestly, this began with Nikola Tesla, who was trying to give free, clean energy to the whole world through his Tesla Tower. And it was a statement of how not ready for it the world was. The way J.P. Morgan shut him down, and he ended up kind of dying in relative obscurity and poverty, and even though he was an absolute genius, and his ideas resonate even to this day. The idea of coming to an understanding of ourselves and our world by virtue of asking the question, who am I? Who am I? What am I made of? How does this work? I am part of a connected matrixed field. That's first and foremost. You got to understand that you are not just yourself. On the one hand, but you got two hands. And the other hand, on the other hand, you are a divinely autonomous individuation of that wholeness. And that is not to be sneezed at. And the whole object of the exercise is not to learn that, oh, we are one, I should sacrifice myself to the Almighty. And that is not the answer. The answer is be yourself for the Almighty. Find yourself. Find your joy. Find your bliss. Find who you really are. Because woven through your entire life is a someone who every step of the way was right. Even though you may also look back at your whole life, you don't need to have arrogance about this, because there is also somewhere every step of the way where you had a blind spot. And so you were not entirely correct unless you were at a point where you saw the wholeness of everything and recognized that everyone is right. If you're going to stick in that place where you are right and you are not looking at where you were wrong at all, you were just right. The only way that you can be in that place is if you are recognizing that everyone around you is also right. If you think that you are right, and everyone else is wrong, you have gotten a hold of that polarity, which is actually the enemy. It's the demon, it's the devil. It is the problem. So, I think what I'm going to... Hold on one second. I'm going to take a very, very brief break. One that you will not even notice. I realize I am coming up close to the first hour mark. Not really. 51 minutes and 40 some seconds. Be right back. So, let's see. I know I have left many threads untied in the pathway behind me as I try to weave together this very, very large set of information into a nutshell. Some mornings I get it better than others. It all depends on how distracted I become by the environment around me and my own small self and my own small stake in this big picture. If it gets too big, then my own vision gets a little distorted, and then it's hard for me to settle down and put it in a nutshell. You got to hit a certain data level for you to be able to amass large concepts into small nutshells, so that then you can pass it off to somebody, and then they take it and they swallow it, and then they go, oh wow, that made the world look different. I have been swallowing my gurus for the last 60, well, no, I haven't been at it for my whole life. But for many decades, I have been swallowing gurus. My first very conscious one was perhaps Joseph Campbell in the late 1980s when he came out with his Power of Myth. It played on PBS, and I recorded it on VHS and watched it over and over and over again. And then later I bought it on DVD and watched it again. And with my teenage daughter, I remember, and boyfriends, a couple of different boyfriends were amenable to the watching of a Joseph Campbell Power of Myth episode on a leisurely Sunday afternoon and calling it church. Later came Deepak Chopra. And then oddly Dr. Phil for a minute. He's not so bad. He's not the end all of it, but there's a reason why. There is something that Oprah saw in him. Then later came my playlists of on my YouTube channel. Read like there are a list of all of the gurus that I followed on my path to making this show, coming at this from the direction that I come at it from. We're all in this together. What actually is the enemy? The enemy is the polarity, not each other, not the individual carrying the polarity. You can swat at the individual carrying the polarity. You can even kill them. But the polarity is still there in the field. As a matter of fact, you've probably made it worse. You have probably created a larger demon by that murder you just committed, by that subtraction that you just attempted in this universe of addition. You cannot subtract. You cannot subtract. That was actually the biggest horror and the biggest mistake of the whole Third Reich, was that exercise in subtraction, the final solution. If only we just subtract these people over here, then all will be well. When the whole time they did not realize that the problem has been the spirit, that vibrational frequency, that disconnected a state of our being when our two selves are not connected with one another, when we are out of alignment. The Native Americans called it, they called it different kinds of versions of the word Wetiko. And Wetiko is the word that Paul Levy uses to describe this condition. It's kind of the heart disconnected from the head kind of thing. That's the way they would draw it in their petroglyphs or pictographs, or however they would draw it. Now, it doesn't all have to be written in stone. They were Native Americans that did this in living memory. They could have written it on skins that would still be around. I'm not sure. But that's how they depicted that condition. And they saw it quite frequently in the white man. The white man was afflicted by this malady pretty regularly. Pretty systemically, actually. The HeartMath Institute in Northern California has been studying that phenomenon and teaching heart-brain coherence in the moment to a lot of different kinds of groups. They teach it to police officers. They teach it to people in the military. They teach it to people in business, in industry, in, It benefits everybody. The technique, they have this quick heart-brain coherence technique. And they have all kinds of studies. They have a little M-wave device that can measure the coherence going on between the heart and the brain. It's a particular frequency. And the more you build the momentum on that frequency, there's all kinds of things that happen. You get this heart rate variability going on. You get more flexible. You get more, in some ways you get more, well, I don't know. It's a quick way to connect to your inner being, is what it is. Get the heart and the brain in sync with one another so they're not fighting one another, so you're not spitting out contrary energy streams. You're not crossing your own energy stream and creating for yourself and others this charge in the field. So what is the technique? You put your attention onto your heart area. Greg Braden has you touch the heart area just to draw your attention that way, and start breathing in and out of that area. Just imagine that. Do that for a few breaths, and then summon into yourself something that what you're trying to evoke is a feeling of gratitude. So you summon into your imagination something or someone that you are grateful for, that gives you that feeling of. Now, he focuses on gratitude. Abraham says that gratitude's all well and fine, and it's often a great improvement from where you are, but it still contains a tiny element of that frequency of what you overcame, what you are grateful that you have overcome. It's not pure appreciation. Satisfaction and appreciation has no negative vibration in it. So, but to summon a positive feeling. And most people that when they summon something they're grateful for, they often just summon like their cat or something that they love. And that's good enough. Summon that feeling of love, and that'll do it. Now your heart and your brain are connected. Now ask your heart the question. Keep it simple. Try to make it a yes-no kind of thing. You'll feel a response coming from your inner being, just a impulse. You'll get it. You'll feel what your heart is telling you about things. Actually, I think you can get in way better sync than that. Just know who you are. Know that that positive self is who you are. And the negative self that you can be is purely a function of the equipment that you're driving. Did you know that? Did you know that? You have these two minds. One is your physical mind, in your physical brain and your physical skull, and it is based here in the physical world. The doctors can operate on it physically. You can, it's that one. And then you have another mind. And this mind is vibrationally connected to the whole thing. Vibrationally connected to the whole thing and standing in the win-win position. It is trying to organize us by virtue of the win-win position. The game that we play on this grid is not win-lose, people, and it's not zero-sum game, and it's not finite pi. It is infinite pi. It is win, 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 win. And the 0-point energy field is infinitely energetic. It is not a zero-sum game. It is a 0-point energy game. Only that 0-point energy game, it's the quantum field. It's what we're actually made of. And what I believe is directing those plonks to form into whatever they form into as time goes by, as evolution evolves, as the universe is learning about itself. This feed-forward, feedback consciousness I don't know what to call it, machine that we are all engaged in. It's learning. It's learning. And so, of course, we are evolving. Of course, we're figuring this out. We will become a coherent ecosystem, and we're going to do it consciously. We're going to do it consciously, and we're going to do it intentionally, because we're going to realize who we are. And we're going to go, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool. We're going to leave some roads on the surface of the planet, just a few, some buggy tracks for sure. There's going to be places where the golf carts go. There's going to be running tracks, places where the bicycles can go and where the human beings can run, do their jogging or whatever. Some of it will be a little more formally laid out. Others will be more forest trails and such. But the main transportational motion of our movement across the planet will be flying. It already is flying. So it's just the flying that we're going to have is going to be different. We're not going to have to burn fossil fuel to achieve a thrust and to overcome, and lift, to overcome gravitational forces to get up in the way we do it now. We're going to do it because we understand the spin of the world that we are a part of. Source energy is actually spin. It's not actually anything more or less than that. But that spin is so profound. And ultimately, it is creating this love-based organizational pattern that's trying to pull us all together in loving ways. And so what's the secret? What's the secret from where you are? How can you inject love, what you love, into wherever you are in your situation? Doing that ends up being the pathway out of the less that you of what you got that what you the less of what you like that you've got to what the more of you what you like that you want. That's the pathway, is to notice the aspects of what you like where you are. instead of noticing the aspects that you do not like where you are. That's what most people who are in a situation that they do not like, that's what they're focusing on. They're focusing on the aspects that they don't like. And they keep getting more and more and more of what they don't like. Well, that's because it's all about focus and attention. It's all about focus and attention. And the way you get out of where you are and into better spaces is start noticing the aspects of where you are that might be aspects also where you want to be. So anywhere where you notice the love, notice the kindness, notice the abundance, notice the life that's around you. I've noticed, so I live in a desert land. Broadcasting to you from beautiful downtown Corrales, New Mexico. I live in a desert land that's also on a river. I don't live on the river, but I live in the middle Rio Grande Valley. And so it's kind of so I'm sort of greenery surrounded by desert. And I look around, and there's actually quite a bit of life. I put bird feeders out. I get lots of different birds and stuff. Mostly, a lot of them the same birds. Yes, it's true. I get lots of house finches and American finches and goldfinches, and I don't even know all the names of them. There's one I used to call a rosy finch, and I'm not sure that's what it is. There's some woodpeckers, so delightful. I get the occasional hawk. Anyway, there's quite a bit of stuff out there. And you could spend your time focusing on all the things that we're killing and make yourself feel really bad. And I used to do that, actually. I used to focus on the sixth mass extinction instead of focusing on the life beings that are actually around you at any given time, and notice how wondrous they are and how fun they are and how delightful they are and how alive they are and how beautiful. All I need is a little garden space that I can tend and I can look at, and and then in my specific physical self, I'm happy. I do have a broader perspective, and does not make me happy for me to see collectively what we do. And I used to focus that way. I still maintain all of the woes of humanity. I still hope that we fix them. And we can, and we will, actually. But the way we are going to fix our problems is from an understanding of who we are and from a very positive direction, following our blissful impulses to create what we want to create, what we know we can, what we're excited about doing, not from a heavy heart as we slog in and, try to stop up this hole in the dike and this hole in the dike and this hole in the dike and world poverty and we are so bad, and we can't do it from that angle. I feel ya. I want to do the same thing. You know what my triggers are? My triggers are drowning polar bears, Korean food dogs, and orphan elephants. Bludgeon baby seals. I mean, we could go on and on. Homeless cats. Let's don't do this. Those are the kinds of things that but Abraham gave me a piece of wisdom that I didn't have before, and I'm going to try to pass it along here because it was a game changer. This idea of everyone is at the center of their own point of attraction. They are responsible for what is coming to them. Cosmically, like in a really big, eternal, you cannot get in between someone and their destiny kind of way. And what it really means is that you cannot get in between a person's own source and how they are vibrating individually and what that is resulting in what's coming to them. Now, you can influence it by, like this show, I'm hoping will influence some people to line up their two selves more harmoniously, more effectively, more peacefully more loving and kindly, less resistantly, so that they, in a fuller way, understand who they are and what we're all about. That we shouldn't be in conflict with one another, that the actual place that we're looking for is a win-win-win-win-win-win position, and it's the only way we're going to survive with 10 billion people on the frickin' planet. It's the only way we're going to survive. And we don't have 10 billion people. We might have 8. I don't know. I don't keep track these days. It used to take years and years. It used to take decades. Actually, to get to our first billion took centuries, millennia. And then we hit our first billion, and it took, I think, hundreds of years to make it to the second one. Maybe just a couple hundred. And then it's an exponential thing. It'll level off. It'll all balance out. We will hit an equilibrium when we realize what we are, who we are, and how this is going to work as we build our way to our true positive future, which is going to involve us moving around the world, transporting ourselves around the world, visiting one another, because we like to do that. Having fun, because that's what we like to do. And which brings me back to why I even brought up the still standing thing, which I completely forgot to say. As such, so he goes around to all the struggling small towns in Canada. And what's really interesting about the show is if you watch the whole, you like binge watch it, you start seeing all these great ideas that people bring to the table about how to live when what they thought what they had to do dries up. And now they're faced with, they got to think about something else. And wonderful ideas. The best idea I saw was somebody took an area. I don't know how they had access to do this, but Canada's a big country and they got lots of land. And these people had a great idea. They took what had been previously wetlands. They dug out a maze kind of a thing. They dug out a maze on this previous wetland that wasn't so wet. They dug it out. And then to one area of it, they attracted beavers. Of course, you couldn't do this everywhere. Only in Canada can you do such a thing. Then through certain activity, they attracted beavers to a certain area in the river. And they got beavers to build their dam, and they invited the beavers in, and the beavers built their environment, and it flooded all of this area behind where they had built this maze. And now they have the coolest kayak maze ever, and it's like this wonderful thing that attracts tourists to their little neck of the woods. God knows what they used to do. A lot of towns in Canada used to be all about logging. Some of them were all about energy. Some of them were all about fishing. Some of them were one of them was all about a paper mill and the orchards that can't sustain anymore. But you know what? When we've got free, clean energy, those orchard people, those people who love the orchards, who want to build that way of life again, they can go back in and they can grow their orchards. And they can make a living growing apples. It will be economically viable and feasible. This new way of looking at energy is going to be a shot in the arm. Currency, energy. It will inject literal energy into the system of humanity. The only way I think that's really safe is when we start coming to a better understanding of who we really are and what this bigger frame we're actually playing out is. That's my message of the day. So let's see, how can we add to the discussion? We've covered we're probably GMO, we're probably genetically modified organisms. I do wonder about that. If we aren't genetically modified organisms, well, our design is still our design. We still are a physical being guided by a vibrational one. And the vibrational being that you are is both intimately you. It is you. It isn't just something that leaves you and comes to you sometimes and leaves you at other times. It's rather the other way around. You are either with her or you leave her. When you think thoughts that are, because remember, your two minds are both vibrational. Your greater mind, your inner being self, your vibrational self has one mind, and your physical specific brain, you and your human mind self, has another mind. They are both vibrational because minds are vibrational. They can measure your brain activity without even touching your skull now. They put you in a thing called a magnetocephalogram, and it sits outside your head, kind of like one of those old-fashioned hair dryers, or the hair dryers that you use at the beauty salon, that you sit in a chair and it doesn't touch your head, it just blows air on you. Well, a magnetoencephalogram kind of looks like that. And it's reading an electromagnetic field that your brain is outputting. And it's vibrational, it is. But your greater self, also being vibrational, the meaning of your positive and negative emotions, and anybody who is a student of Abraham already knows this. If you are not already a student of Abraham, go listen to what she says. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. It's Esther Hicks, and she channels a non-resistant cadre of non-physical consciousness. It's almost her way of explaining why she knows things that she's got no business knowing. It's because she's tapping into her own inner being in a very... But Esther herself is not as connected to it as I am here. This is kind of a mixture of me and Abraham, sort of a thing. Abraham's here. I don't have as pure an access as she seems to. She knows some things that I don't get. Like, I would never have come up with the 17 seconds, But who knows what I'll come up with over time. She's got a way different story, too. And she was the vessel. She wasn't the asker of the questions. Jerry was the asker of the questions. She was just the vessel that pulled those answers through. In me, it's different. I don't have a Jerry. Esther and Jerry are one in me, and so my connection isn't as pure, but it's something we can all do. We are all this. We are all this inner being self that is you. I think that it's really you because it's who you always are. It's who you really are because it's who you always are. But this physical self that you are, well, that's you too. And you're supposed to be this system of mind that relates to itself, and by how you feel, you should lean into or shy away from different thought forms. If it feels bad to think something, it's sort of like putting something that tastes horrible in your mouth. And usually you don't just keep putting more of it into your mouth. When it tastes really, really bad, you spit it out. And that's kind of what it is with thoughts and feelings. When you take a thought that makes you feel really, really bad, it's like a bad taste. It's telling you something. It might be telling you this is poison. Now, it might be telling you it's medicine too, because occasionally medicine tastes really, really bad. But if the object of our whole exercise has been to understand who we are so that we can appropriately operate the machinery, then all of this bad tasting stuff that we've been experiencing over the last centuries and centuries and centuries is like medicine, isn't it? You can look to the whole experience of the World War last year, parts 1 and 2. I've decided to refer to World Wars I and II in that manner. The World War, Part 1 and 2. Because World War II came right out of World War I. Right directly out of the heart and soul of a dissatisfied German soldier who never surrendered on that one, you know? And then he built Germany back up and he said, we're at it again. It was absolutely World War I, Part 2. I have my ideas about what all that was about, too. I have a lot of this recorded in times past. It's hard to get all of it in one, but there's some, I could tell you how many. Tell you how many videos are over there, and they all run from an hour and a half to 2 hours long, and there's a few of them that are a little bit shorter. Looks like I have 159 posted. Maybe around 25 of those might not be forward-facing. They might be unlisted. But for the most part, I've got lots and lots of them. Probably at least 130. As I lay out this picture, what is our focus? What is our attention? Who am I? How does this work? What's the meaning of my emotions? Where did I come from? Where did we come from? What's the object of the exercise? What is the object of the exercise? Actually, you got to ask yourself that. Let's take that question. What's the object of the exercise? And I'll tell you why we're going to ask that question, because how the formula flows forth from that answer is everything. And it makes a whole lot of difference if you're asking, if you answer that question, what's the object of the exercise? Okay. He who dies with the most toys wins. That's the object of the exercise. You play the game way different than if you think the object of the exercise is to learn through suffering and sacrifice myself for the greater whole. Okay, that makes you play the game a different way. How about the object of the exercise is to conquer the world, because it's all about conflict and competition in order to establish who is the fittest and has the right to survive, and who is less fit and should be eliminated from the system because they are weak or whatever. Then you play the game way different, don't you? So it's really important. What is the object of the exercise? Well, to my way of thinking, ultimately speaking, from the viewpoint of long-range humanity, the object of the exercise is sustainability. This is also the object of the exercise of the biofield of planet Earth. Sustainability, the ability to keep going on and keep building on what is here and what is wanted. What moves the system? How does it move? It moves on desire. But watch it how you have defined the word desire, because you may be defining it very narrowly, like desire means my wanting of physical material stuff that I don't already have. And that is not exactly what I mean when I use the word desire in this. It's almost closer to the word bliss. It's almost going to be close to the concept of love. Follow your love. Follow your bliss. Follow your desire. But what it is you have within you a system of clarity. And in that clarity, you have desires. And the clarity of those desires are this. You desire freedom, beauty, love, connection, abundance, comfort, joy, relationship, that kind of thing. That is your desire in purity. Now it is up to you in your physical life to look at your physical world and translate what out there equals those things. And so you take your book of positive aspects and you walk around the world and you go, ooh, I like that. Ooh, there it is. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. I want that. I want that. I want that. And what you're doing is you're driving the car. You're pointing in the direction of where you want to go. You're facing forward and you're looking at what you like, what you want, what would be better, what would make it better for you, what would make it better for others. You're in a win-win-win-win-win-win paradigm. And the more that your desires dovetail or intersect with the desires of others, the more cooperative components you have at your fingertips. Do you see how that works? It is love trying to organize us. And when we organize in that way, softly and flexibly, without resistance, and loving one another, and doing what floats your boat, what flips your lid, what makes you happy, we all naturally go into places where we specialize in our thing, and theoretically, we could all lattice together into a great being of blessed organization. Understand that anything else other than that is just, don't over catastrophize it or over dramatize it. I call it demonic energy. It's better than calling it, ooh, you are a demon. No, somebody left demonic energy laying around in the common quantum field, and a dissatisfied soul, someone whose needs was not being met, in some way, who didn't understand who they were or where they were or how to get what they wanted, stumbled across that angry energy or whatever, resonated with it, picked it up, started spinning thoughts from it, joined a group. Next thing you know, you got a storm, you got a riot running down the street. Instead of the coherence of blessed, loving, coherent order, It's the difference between order and chaos, love and fear. It's the way this universe is designed. And if we would come to understand our own design and how this works, we could each individual is tasked with getting into alignment with their own self, and then follow that loving, playful spirit into where you want to go. Like I said, don't sacrifice yourself for the group. Be yourself for the group. The group needs you, needs all of you. That's why there are so many being born. We need them all. I used to push back against that. I used to be in favor of abortion because I was afraid of overpopulation. I am no longer afraid of overpopulation. But I still am in favor of a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body. It is a divinely autonomous right to be able to choose what you do with your own body and what feels right to you. And there will be plenty, plenty, plenty of younger and younger women, if any. I know there are people out there who are concerned about how old, there will be more women having babies who want them. If they felt like we were supported in a paradigm of abundance, creating more and more abundance. And the ones who didn't feel the call of being parents, they shouldn't be forced to be parents. So I understand those who are in the pro-life camp. I understand their reaction too, because they feel so many babies not wanted. What is wrong with us? What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong? And they think that the answer is just to force those women to have babies, because the answer is to understand who we are, soften our edges, line up with our inner beings, and lean forward into the future we're all headed for. One of clean, free energy for all of us, and everyone dancing with this order of the biofield as well as with the morphogenetic field of humanity, into a better world. Sustainability is the object of the exercise, but not just. The object of the exercise is joy, is beauty, is abundance, is clarity, is efficiency, is fun, is comfort, is more of just the qualities of what we want. It doesn't have to be stuff, more understanding amongst human beings, more, it's so harsh out there. And I don't know how to fix it directly, and quite frankly, I can't. And when I turn and look at it and feel its harshness, it brings my vibration down, and now I have no inspiration. The inspiration doesn't come from there. The inspiration comes from your joyful heart, from your understanding that we are all dancing through this universe. There's nothing serious going on here. And yet there's plenty serious going on here. I understand to lose your avatar or the avatar of your young is desperately sad, of course. But you know what? Not really. Because they're still here. I'm still, none of us are going anywhere. You exist. You will always exist. You are a sacred, divinely individuated aspect of the wholeness. And you exist. And you are free to man the center of that whole, that center of that spin. Whole spelled W-H-O-L-E. As a matter of fact, I have a quote from Nassim Haramein. I love this. Let's see if I can find it easily. It starts out, when you... Let's see if I can find it real quick. Oop. So this is in reference to the layers of data, being transferred across all the scales, the data streams of the fields of informational whatever. So when you meditate, when you get deeper into the center of the center of the center of the center of your own spin, what you're doing is you're like clicking into larger and larger integrated fields of data and information flow. And this is how Nassim put it. When you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect to the solar system, or with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy. And when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. And it's a kind of a gentle, peaceful, universal consciousness-based knowing. It's just, and when you get there, you'll recognize it. You'll be like, oh, I've been here before. Oh, yeah, there's a reason why they call it universal consciousness, because each and every one of us has a ticket into there. You just have to line your system up correctly so that you can get there. And what it is it's a place of absolute non-resistant thought. There is value everywhere. You push back against nothing. You recognize what you want, what you prefer, where you'd like to be, and you just focus in that direction and you go that way. And you start learning that that's how we are designed to work. Don't waste any of your time fussing and fretting about the things that you don't like. Kind of feel them, go, and then keep your eye focused on, yeah, but I'm looking at where I want to go. And this is like a flea, or, well, not a flea, so much as a mosquito, Fleas, if you've got fleas, you might have, a worse problem than just swatting it and being done with it. If you've got fleas, that's a different analogy. So anyway, who am I? I'm past an hour and a half, so I can stop for the day. It all depends. There's so much to talk about. I haven't done this one in a while. These are cymatic patterns. Now, the cymatics is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. And this field of study was pioneered by a man named Hans Jenny. And what he would do is he would take a granular medium and sprinkle it on top of a metal plate that he could pipe a frequency through. And he would energize the plate with the frequency, and the particles would dance their way into a coherent pattern. And he would go, wow, that's interesting. Well, these cymatic patterns were made by some sort of digital cymatic device that as you pipe in different frequencies, they spit out these different beautiful symmetrical patterns. And the only reason I bring this up is because it helps us understand a fundamental rule of creation. And that is, it's a vibrational universe. And we ultimately are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. It only looks solid. It's not actually as solid as you think it is. It's all plonks. None of it is anything other than plonks. The plonk is like the ultimate increment. For a long time, they thought it was the primordial atom. It turned out that an atom was actually not probably the right answer. But a plonk it's like the building block of the whole. It's what constitutes the plasma that makes up the whole universe. And where it looks like space, it's not because there isn't solid plonks, it's because they aren't organized there. When they organize into spin, it looks like the material world. And when they don't organize into the spin, it looks like space, and we call it the zero-point energy field. And we recognize that there's almost infinite amount of energy everywhere. Space is not empty. Space is full. It's full of these plonks, and they are communicating. They are reverberating. That's how they're doing it. They are communicating their information across all the scales instantaneously, uploading from the specific point up to the whole, and the whole down to the part every now. That's how it works. That's who you are. That's who we are. And if we could lean into this consciously, understand that, oh, that is who we are. Oh my goodness, we've been doing this unconscious for how many years? Without any instructions on how this works? Oh my gosh, no wonder everything. And it pulls you right out of a place of judgment and blame, and you all of a sudden see the baby everywhere instead of the bathwater. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's who I am. So these are cymatic patterns digitally done. These here are also cymatic patterns. Look in the upper right and lower left. That's a black metal plate with a golden or light colored granular medium, and you put a frequency through that. That's the kind of coherent pattern it comes up with. You increase the frequency of the pattern, and it will change the frequency of the vibration. And it changes the pattern, but what it does is it just makes the pattern more complex. The higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern. And now look on the upper left and lower right. Those are biological beings, and you can see displayed in their structure cymatic patterns. It really is a vibrational universe. If you want to understand this universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration, and spin. I'm adding that one to what Tesla said. And then when you look at the world, it's like, oh. Anyway, I haven't done this one in a while. Here is the 5 kleshas from Buddhist philosophy. This is thought to be the root cause of all suffering. Considered to be the root cause of all suffering. Does this sound familiar? Not knowing what is real, grasping and clinging to the unreal, being afraid of the unreal and recoiling from it, identifying with an imaginary self and fear of death. Not knowing what is real. Well, what's real is that who you really are is an eternal being moving through time. You are made of light and you are connected to everyone else. That's who you really are. So rest in that, knowing that whatever happens, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You don't want to lose your avatar, though. Don't be too blasé about it. You took a lot of years or whatever to build the avatar that you're in, and you may or may not have reaped all of the wonderful things that particular avatar is in possession of. The things she knows, the things that she's good at, the way she connects this matrix together, this lattice being that we are, this huge lattice being that we are. If we would all just get big and connect with one another and quit arguing about things. I know that there's a real world on the ground that you got to deal with. I understand that. But there's other things I understand too. And stuff like when you approach the world from a playful nature, the characteristics of the form around you become more malleable. Play equals clay, or play goes to clay. The more playful you are in your state of being as you address the world around you, the more clay-like the world around you specifically becomes, and the more you are able to mold and form the physicality of what's around you into more pleasing shapes for you. We are spirit beings, and that is where you rest your okayness in. But don't be too sidetracked, because you're here for the physical experience. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be fun, and it would be fun if we understood who we were. Now, individually, a few of us can go, oh, that's who we are, but wouldn't it be more fun if more of us knew who we are? And would consciously connect together in this way? We need to be so much nicer to each other than we are being. Our criminal justice system is just awful. It's so mean. But there's benefit, there is value everywhere. And so in the spirit of, we're not pushing back against anybody, and we're not raging to defund the police or, whatever. You got to understand why we do what we do. The more out of alignment anyone or anything is, the more of a paper trail that seems to follow it. And the more that we don't understand what the truth is, the more we are inclined to bring it into court and adjudicate. We have ways of getting to the bottom of whatever. And only in this way have we come to this point where we even have a good, clear sense of what has happened behind us. All of this record keeping is all about answering the question, who am I? And so you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's also what this life exercise is identifying baby. Keep the baby. Ignore the bathwater. It's kind of the object of the exercise. At least the way I see it. Now everybody needs to do what lights them up. What makes you happy. That's what you should be doing. Every single person should be following their bliss. And if they would do that, we would all organize in a blessed, sustainable, sustaining, not creating the Loki, Shiva, and demonic energy laying around in the field for storms to follow us with these cycles of growth and destruction and such that we have been enduring for these many years. We would be able to build systems that are in harmonious alignment with ourselves and the rest of the field around us. Ones that didn't let others fall through the cracks, that allowed each being to call their own path, that allowed the highest level of freedom and the highest level of abundance creation and solution finding and all of that sort of thing. We've got a beautiful, blessed future in front of us. But it begins with us individually. And we kind of have to work with what we've got, but don't get too fixed on what we've got. What we've got at the moment is only a springboard to where we're going. You can just lay new pipes. You don't have to worry about, well, let me take into consideration every problem on the ground. And, my solution can't even start to begin anything unless it accounts for every single thing. Well, your inner being is the one who is in charge of taking into account every single thing, because she is vibrationally in touch with all the plonks, with all the information, with all of the protons, with all of physicality, with how it's moving, with how it's flowing, and all of their desires too. She's sitting in the win-win position. Listen to her. You don't have to, your physical, mental mind does not have to know everything. It's simply that what it does think that it knows needs to be in alignment with the mind that really knows. That's all. And then wherever you tangentially, brush into the physical world, it will be in alignment. It will be right where you need to be. And all of us will find ourselves right where we need to be, organizing in the most blessed. So what does that mean for me? Well, we haven't run through Abraham's rules of creation or Bashar's, the 5 on the 1, 3, 5, 7, 11 download. I like his 5 and 7, the 5 laws of the universe. It's actually an outline of the structure of the universe, the things that you can't change. So don't fight against these, or don't worry about them, because you can't change them. Number 1, you exist. Number 2, everything's here and now. Number 3, the one is all and the all are one. Number 4, this is the only actionable one. What you put out is what you get back. The universe is a big cosmic mirror. And the 5th one, which is everything changes. In the physical world, they're talking about everything changes except for the laws. So you can't fix the physical manifestation into an actually fixed point. You can hold it into kind of what it looks like in place by focusing on what it is in such a way that as it winks out and then winks back in, it winks back in mostly the way it winked out, but it's your attention that's holding everything in place. It's the attention of the universe that's holding everything in place. It's all about consciousness. It's all about our connection to one another. It's all about being aware of where everyone is, what they want, what they're doing, what you want, how you want to flow with this great river of complexity and life and energy. It's all about that. It's all about understanding what's facing forward and what's facing backward. What do those things mean? If you are in a state of negative emotion, you are facing backwards. You are still perhaps looking at reality. Just like looking at a negative photo, the negative photo has all the information that the positive photo has. As a matter of fact, they use the negative to make the positive. Isn't that interesting? It has all the information, but it looks off. You couldn't really work with it. Doesn't look right. Turn it around. Oh, there it is. And so just the same way, your negative emotion, it's not that it's all wrong information. It's just you've got it, you're looking at it from the wrong direction. Get yourself turned back around. Your state of being is the most important aspect of the equation, period. Get your eyes off of the physical world for just a minute. We've got our eyes so locked onto the physical world that we don't realize that is just one aspect of the universe. And if you take your eyes off the condition and feel what underlies that, now when you put your eyes back on the condition, you realize why it's moving the way it's moving. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, based on this, I have a better idea of how to get what I want. How to get away from, I don't like terror and depravity and ugliness. I don't like it. I really don't. But if you stare at the specific things in the ugly that you don't like and you try to push against them and resist them and it's futile. It's absolutely futile. You'll only end up with you yourself carrying forward that vibration that you don't like, that you're pushing against. You aren't pushing against it. You are adopting it as you push against it. Don't you be the one that's carrying that dark energy into the world that you are fussing so hard about. You think it's because you think that it's the other person's behavior that is the problem. But the way you have noticed the other person's behavior, the way you have judged it, the way you have extracted that particular aspect out of the field and you're focused on it, is actually causing you to emit that frequency. You have brought the darkness into the world yourself and you're blaming it on somebody else. You got to understand your own equipment, how it's designed, how we are designed to function harmoniously and beneficially and constructively with the world around us to create beauty and freedom and abundance and joy for all of us. That's what I'm all about. I am going to come into this unconditional space every single day. I push back against nothing in this space. We are all here for a reason. It is not up to me to say that you are wrong and that you should not be, even if you are rubbing me the wrong way. It is for me to understand how I have gotten myself out of alignment, and my alignment is the only thing that will ultimately lead to the resolution of whatever that condition was that I didn't like in the first place. Because I still maintain the changing of the condition to something more pleasing is still the target. You've just got to understand that the condition, which is your primary target, is a secondary effect. So if you want to affect how it really is, how to change how you really want it to be, you've got to find the vibrational frequency. You've got to find the spirit that you want. Find that spirit. Hold that spirit no matter what you're looking at. Hold the spirit of what you want as you gaze at whatever, and you'll get the good ideas about what to do with it. And it will be blessed and harmonious and in alignment with everyone else's loves and desires and benefit also. That's how this works. This great organizing force that is love and gravity and wholeness is organizing us. But it's doing it in a really gentle way that each one of us individually has to call their path. And you do it by simply following what feels best to you, what you like. Follow the trail of beauty and joy and love and connection and comfort and laughter, and the things that feel good truly to your soul are good. And when you feel that, that's a little bit of a something in there. But the whole point is follow the trail of the positive aspects, and the materiality around you will start conforming to the correct spirit, and the form around you will start taking on that spirit. And it's almost like the form in a way doesn't change, but it does. And then the forms will change. But it's almost like, you know Halloween? There's two kinds of Halloween. One is a really dark, the scary clown, the bloody, realistic, deeply horrifying, real bones kind of Halloween. When Halloween gets kind of more that way. And then you have this other Halloween that's more like Disney Halloween. It's got a, Casper, the friendly ghost, and it has a gentler aspect to it. The forms there are all kind of the same. You have the skeletons, you have the witches, you have the ghosts, you have the death, you have the bones, you have the whatever. You have all those things. But they're either coming in on one spirit or another spirit, right? So ultimately, you have some control over the condition around you, but what you ultimately have control over is the spirit it's coming in on. And so do that one first. And then as the rolling manifestation rolls, at the very least, it's coming in on a gentler spirit. It's sort of like, that guy from, and I keep saying this, and then I never listen to the show, so I never think about it later. I'm so, in some ways, out of touch with my individual specific self during the course of this show that I have a hard time remembering some of the things that I say that I should go do. But there's this guy from Nazi Germany, and he wrote about it later, what it felt like to be part of the Third Reich. How, he looked around him and all the forms were the same. But the spirit had changed. And somehow that changed everything. And that's the truth. That's the way it works. And I see now, with dismay, that I'm coming up on 1 hour and 56 minutes, which means I've got to get off the air. I'll be back tomorrow. I will, and I'll get better and better at doing this. We're going to connect all this. Who am I? Where did I come from? What is the object of my life? How does my equipment work? How do I get what I want from where I am with what I've got? How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I understand the focus and attention and the nature of this universe? How do I understand this? Who am I? And what do I do with this information once I do understand? Well, it's going to be a journey we will take together. And maybe it will last for years and years. We'll see. I expect a lot of growth on this line because it's already come a long way. And I thank you so much for being on this journey with me, because I am so honored and so blessed that someone has found me. I love you. I love you. And please go out and do the best you can. Connect to your inner being. Pay attention to how you feel, because that's her telling you that you are resonating with her greater wisdom. And I'll be back tomorrow. And until then, may the source be with you.